Good day, this is Ray. Today is Friday, June 19, 2026 for me. Another day of learning and growing. I hope your family, friends, and loved ones are doing well and staying safe. So I am off today. I just got back from a few errands, physical therapy being one, which is at 7 a.m. It was for an hour, and then picked up my groceries. I am just 1 month and 1 day post-op of having an appendectomy. And if you haven't watched my previous videos, my appendix completely ruptured, and had to get a piece of my colon cut out and reattached to my small intestine. And it's been a rough journey, but I'm doing everything I can to try to get back to some normalcy. I'm back at work. Went to the office every day this week for the first 3 days. It was only a 4-day week. For the first 3 days, I worked a half day in the office, and then yesterday I worked a full day. And energy was okay. I think my energy is much better when I do physical therapy. So that has helped. You can probably tell I've lost a significant amount of weight. When I checked yesterday morning, I was at 160. In the hospital, I was down to 152, 154. So I'm trying to gain back weight the best I can, eating 3 meals a day, of course, and resting. But I have to be careful because, like I said, I'm only 1 month, 1 day post-op. I was looking at my calendar and actually just got the staples removed from my stomach on June 4th. So it hasn't been that long since I've had a procedure. And I know I have to have grace with myself, be patient. I've been through something similar to this back in 2019 when I was diagnosed with lupus, but the difference then is that I took a 3-month medical break, and I was down to 145 pounds. Not too far off from that weight when I was in the hospital this time. So yeah, that's enough on that. But what I really wanted to talk about today was, if you hadn't been, like I said, watching my previous videos, I paid off $115,041.89 of non-mortgage debt, which consisted of student loans, personal loans, credit cards, cell phone. I had an auto loan at the time, and a few other things. But one of the things that kind of frustrates me, and throughout my journey, is I watched videos of other people who paid off their debt, and there was people who would pay off their debts and pay off a huge amount of debt in a year or two. I didn't really see any journeys that were long. And I started to think, everybody's journey is going to be different. It is not a race. It's a complete change in mindset. It's a paradigm shift. And that's exactly what it was for me. So it wasn't necessarily about paying off all that debt. That was great. But it was about learning how to budget, how to assign every dollar I get to a category. And that is just how I live now. And that's how I've been living basically since May of 2020 is when I learned how to budget. And it's just second nature. It's not even something I think about. But what I want to focus on, I do have some notes that I'm loosely going to refer to, but everybody's going to have a different starting point. So for me, my journey started right in the heart of COVID, the pandemic. And I was back home with my parents, so I didn't have a mortgage or rent at the time. And I was working from home, so didn't have to worry about gas money, except for I started going into the office. I think it was actually that year in 2020, I started going to the office later in the summer. So I went in a few times a week and continued doing that. But that's besides the point. So I didn't have to pay electricity or anything. And, I would buy my own groceries from time to time. But I had it pretty easy during that time. So like in the first year, I was able to pay off. So in that first year, I was able to pay off like $19,000 worth of consumer debt. And then the following year, it was like $15,000. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But So those first 2 years were a lot easier, but then I took on a mortgage in 2021, so it dropped down to where I paid off 10,000, and then 9,000, and then it went up to 12,000, so on and so forth. So my pace was slightly different, and I'm not a six-figure earner. After taxes, not even close to six figures. Even now, I'm not a six-figure earner. Take-home pay is much better, and debt-free. But anyway, everybody has a different starting point. Some people have two incomes. Some people have kids. I don't have kids. Some people are in good health. I was diagnosed with lupus. Some people have car payments. My car, I paid off relatively quickly after I recognized how much debt I had. Some people have family help, and I did have family help in that regards, where I was staying home with my parents for those 2 years. Medical debt, yeah, I had. Chronic illness, like I said, lupus. Some people are single parents, and other people have, lower or inconsistent income. So try your best not to, and I'm really speaking to myself, is not to compare your journey to others. I'm dealing with a new journey, my health journey, my journey back to good health. So I probably won't watch videos of, I'll probably not watch videos of people who are on a similar path, but then again, yeah, I might, whatever. Forgive me. I see videos, or I used to watch videos where people would say, I paid off $15,000 in 2 months. And, just do this, follow these simple steps. And it's like, that's great for you. I'm truly glad that you're able to do that. But not everybody has that capacity to do it. Not everybody has that type of income to do it. And everybody's situation is different. What I want to encourage you, if you're on a journey to pay off debt, is to be consistent. So, if you're spending like crazy, still purchasing like you always have been, that has to stop immediately. For me, I recognize I had a bunch of credit card debt. I think, I can't recall what the highest amount was, maybe 28,000, 30,000. I don't even know what it was, but it was a high amount. I don't have those numbers in front of me. And, I remember looking at that and saying, okay, I got to stop. And, it was a lot of stupid stuff that I was buying, clothes and gadgets and books and stuff. And, there's a lot of wasteful spending. But, once I stopped, and I said, okay, I'm just going to make a concerted effort of paying all this stuff off. Then it changed. And I didn't spend more than I made. And what I mean by that is that it's easy to have credit cards and your income, you say to yourself that I can afford to get this because you have enough credit to be able to get that purchase. But really, you're spending money that you don't have. And that concept may have taken a few days for me to understand. Once I did, I said, I'm no longer going to live that way. And so I hadn't lived that way. I've been debt free for 3 months and maybe 2 or 3 days now. And hopefully never going back. The one concern I do have right now is the medical debt that I just accrued. I saw where the hospital billed my insurance $118,000, and I think I'm going to be responsible for $2,600. But if you've been watching my videos, I've been prepping, or one of my goals within 12 to 13 months is to build a full emergency fund, and right now it's 33% funded. So it should be enough after I get everything finalized, how much I owe. That if I have to dip into my emergency fund to pay that off, then I do that. But I won't have to borrow to be able to pay off that medical debt. More than likely what I do is charge one of my credit cards, put it on there for the points, but then allocate the money to pay it right off. So the credit card companies don't like me because I do that. I pay off my credit cards each month. I have a little bit of balance on it by the time the statement's generated, just to keep my credit score up, because it's best to do it that way as opposed to having a higher balance on your statement each month. I learned that little trick. That's why my credit score is over 800. It's like 820, something like that. And for me, that doesn't matter. That might matter in the future if I decide to get another car. But even then, I don't care. I'm going to pay probably half of the car off right on the spot. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, that's what's kind of been bothering me, is that people are like racing to pay off debt, but not talking about the most important part of that is having a life of budgeting and planning. I was thinking about something. I hadn't really celebrated paying off that debt. I hadn't done anything to celebrate it. And, one of the things that I planned on doing was going to a jazz festival, either in the country or out the country. I hadn't decided yet. More than likely it's going to be within the country, save some money. But, because I have these medical expenses, I might have to bump that back a little bit later. But I feel like I need to do something to mark that moment of paying off $115,041.89 worth of non-mortgage debt before I'm 50 years old. And I don't know. I'm not really a beach person. I prefer the mountains. So I might get away. I'm going to see if the Grand Canyon's a possibility. That would be nice. I guess that's not really mountains, but it's canyon. That's close enough. That might be within my budget. We shall see. But if my goal is to build a full emergency fund, then I'd have to wait till next year. That's just how I roll. I had a lot of fun in my 20s and 30s, my 40s, locked in, focused on retirement planning and things like that. So this video is much longer than I anticipated. I have to do a little bit of editing and get this posted. But if you made it this far, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you know when I post my videos. You can find me at youtube.com/@nightinmybudget. As always, thank you for watching. You all take care.